J'ai bu que de l'eau. Voilà. OK. Now, let me see. Mr. Rukni? Yes.
Madam Speaker, B1133.
Madam Speaker, please allow me to provide the reply to this question as the budget measure 295 concerns my ministry. From the outset, let me convey to my colleague, honourable member, and the House the following. 1. With regards to Part A and C of the question, the scheme is expected to be implemented as from the end of this year and fully rolled out by the first quarter of 2026. In this context, provision is being made to fully cover 7,468 households and families on the SRM in both Mauritius and Rodrigues to benefit from this budget measure. 2. With regard to Part B of the question, payment will be made to Internet service providers upon provision of the Internet to SRM households who applied and are provided with same. Madam Speaker, following the announcement of this budgetary measure, the NEF, the National Empowerment Foundation, carried out survey amongst its beneficiaries, who consist of persons of the Social Register of Mauritius, SRM, and have signed a social contract to benefit from its services. The surveys pointed out that only around an estimated 10% of the families of the Social Register of Mauritius presently have a home-based internet connection. Around 90% have expressed interest to avail of the free internet connection. My ministry then engaged in consultations with relevant stakeholders, namely the Ministry of Finance, the Information and Communication Technology, ICTA, and the National Empowerment Foundation to work out modalities for the implementation of this budgetary measure. Consultations were also held with the Mauritius Revenue Authority, MRA, to understand the mechanism in place for persons to benefit from the 1825 free mobile phone scheme. After thorough reflections emanating from these consultations, my ministry has decided that eligible SRM beneficiaries will have the choice to select from the three available commercial packages, as per the recommendation of the ICTA, offered by the free internet service providers, that is Mauritius Telecom, MTEL Limited, and Mahanagar Telephone Mauritius Limited, MTML. Thus, the 7,468 households will have the possibility of making their own choices and no specific ISP will be designated. So the new provision will be a people's choice-based system. In this context, the State Informatics Limited is working on an online platform with the assistance of the Mauritius Revenue Authority to translate this people's choice-based system to ensure efficient implementation and monitoring of the scheme and ensure effective communication between the ministry and the internet service providers. Once the SIL online platform finalized, NEF will issue notices to all SRM eligible households to inform of the packages available and of the modalities to avail of same. The head of the household will have to apply for his or her chosen package directly from the selected ISP and its respective outlets, similar to any citizen applying to benefit from any given internet package. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform that the government has provided for, in fact, 85 million rupees yearly over a period of 3 years each for this particular scheme under the National Resilience Fund. Let me reassure the Honourable Member and the House that the 3 years period will start as from the date on which the measures become effective, so that no prejudice is caused to any of the registered poor family of the country. My ministry is committed, as is this caring government, to ensure the implementation of this measure to provide some 7,500 families and 27,000 people with internet connection so as to be digitally connected and avail of the facilities linked thereto, particularly for educational purposes. Thank you, Madam
Minister.
Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Oakley.
Madam Speaker, I would like to ask the Minister, Honourable Minister, if he could advise of the 85 million rupees earmarked per financial year, and given that the project will be fully rolled out at the end of first quarter of 2026, how much of the said sum will be spent in the first financial year?
As I've just stated, the project, as from the date of implementation of the project, the 3 years budget will be applied. That is, the 3 years that has been earmarked, irrespective of the start date of the implementation. So up to now, no money has been spent. So it will be spent either in December or the first 3 years of next year, and then the 3 years will apply for all those eligible to the package.
Yes, the second member for Quartier Militaire.
My apologies. I believe that the question has been
Been
moved.
withdrawn?
Has
Yes.
been-
All right. It's quite possible, but I believe you. Okay. So now, then, I will go to first member for Savannah and Blackburn.
B1135. Thank you.
1135, Minister of Information Technology.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I would like to thank the honourable member for this question. This government recognises that online harms, particularly those affecting children and vulnerable persons, demand a structured and specialised institutional response. This because of also the incidents that took place lately, including attempts to and cases of suicide. I am tabling
Sorry, including one today, I understand.
Sorry?
This is, apparently there has been one today as well.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, yes.
And
yesterday.
it was, yeah, very,
I'm
very
sorry.
sad. Yeah. Over the last 3 years, Madam Speaker, there has been an increasing number of cases of cyberbullying, online harassment, and other forms of digital violence, especially against women. When we look at the statistics which I will be tabling, those statistics reveal numbers that speak loudly about the fact that women are more exposed to digital violence. Even though the Cyber Security and Cybercrime Act 2021 already provides deterrent legal provisions, my ministry is actively working on amendments to the legislation to further strengthen the protections, given the fast evolving nature of online harms. Again, for 3 consecutive years, Madam Speaker, cybercrime has been on the rise. The data was there. Parents were reporting cases, but the former government took no action. No proposed amendments to the legislations. Regarding Part A of the question, Madam Speaker, I am informed by the Attorney General's office that the establishment of an independent online safety regulator in line with international best practices, such as the E-Safety Commissioner of Australia, the Online Safety Commissioner in Ireland, and the UK's Online Safety Act under Ofcom is under examination. It is important to highlight that our current online safety ecosystem already includes several institutions, namely the ICTA, the Data Protection Commissioner's Office, the Police Cybercrime Unit, and the Child Development Unit, along with the Computer Emergency Response Team. Together, these institutions play a critical role in protecting our children and all the users online. Nevertheless, preliminary consultations with stakeholders are being held to determine the most appropriate mechanism and options, including the creation of an independent statutory office headed by a highly qualified commissioner, or the establishment of an online safety unit within an existing regulator with guaranteed independence. As regards Part B of the question concerning the proposed ban on social media access for persons under 16 years old, government is monitoring international developments carefully, including Australia's pioneering but technically challenging nationwide restriction accompanied by an age assurance technology trial. The Australian experience, Madam Speaker, reveals issues related to technical accuracy, privacy risks, implementation challenges, and enforcement complexities that question the practicality of such a ban. In line with Section 12 of our Constitution, which protects freedom of expression and considers the digital rights and inclusion of minors, a full prohibition does not seem to be the solution. Similarly, there is also concern that a ban may push minors to unregulated platforms, potentially increasing risks. The former government treated cybersecurity as a side issue. Today, we are correcting a decade of dangerous complacency, Madam Speaker. This government instead prioritizes a holistic approach that includes strengthened digital safety education and enhanced parent control mechanisms, including the imminent rollout of a child protection measures online, or a set of measures online. The House may wish to note that the ICTA is currently working on directives which are expected to be issued in a matter of days. This measure, while being optional, allows parental control through mobile devices in a first phase and control over Wi-Fi home routers in a second. The directives will mandate licensees to, inter alia, take necessary measures to curtail harmful and illegal content for protecting children online. Moreover, the government intends to actively engage with regional international bodies, namely the SADC, the COMESA, and the African Union, in order to establish structured channels of cooperation with major online platforms, most of which do not have a physical presence in Mauritius. This approach aims at improving platform accountability for the contents that are being hosted by those companies. I also wish to inform the House that amendments to the Cybersecurity and Cybercrime Act 2021 are being prepared to, inter alia, establish a national cyber resilience and cyber security agency, which will have as one of its key functions online safety. Whether the independent online safety regulators' functions will be incorporated into this framework or not will depend on the outcomes of the ongoing assessments. Madam Speaker, it's known to one and all that our economic stability now depends upon our social as well as digital stability. It is therefore imperative that we ensure that electronic platforms are safe and secure enough to protect our people. The past regime politicized people's safety. We are taking responsibilities. They stood by as family, women, and young people suffered digital violence. We, on the other hand, are coming with bold measures: legislative, institutional, operational, and educational. And on a conclusive note, Madam Speaker, this government is fully conscious of the increase in online risks and the corresponding rise in the number of victims. This is why it is resolutely committed to protecting our population, especially children and vulnerable persons, from online harms through legislation, institutional reform, education, technology, and international cooperation, while at the same time upholding the constitutional rights. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Babaji, yes?
Will the minister consider of introducing a 24/7 counseling and support services? As we saw it yesterday, someone committed suicide live, and there was a gap between that. We could have contacted that institution.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We are looking at the problem from a holistic perspective. You would recall the Prime Minister's visit to India, and as a result, we are engaging with the Maharashtra government for the establishment of certain services that will include services from Ministry of Gender for family support as well, and for support of victims who are going through digital violence.
Yes? All right. Honourable Third Member for Bobassa.
B1136. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that it is the Mauritius Football Association which is responsible for applying for homologation of a stadium in Mauritius. In order for a stadium to host international football matches, they need to get homologation by the Confédération Africaine de Football, Confédération Africaine de Football, pardon. The CAF is the governing body for football in Africa and is one of the 6 continental confederations that make up a Fédération Internationale de Football, that is FIFA. The mandatory requirement to get homologation includes compliance with, inter alia, administration documentation, pitch or field of play, technical areas of equipment, dressing room, team and official facilities, match official, doping and VAR, video assistant referees, spectator areas and seating, safety, security and emergency services, media, press and broadcast, and lighting, power and communication. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that my ministry is working in close collaboration with the MFA towards the homologation of 2 stadiums. It was this endeavor, that's inspection of both the new George V Stadium and the Anjali Kupen Stadium were carried out by Mr. Joa Nip, a CAF Stadium inspector, during his mission to Mauritius from 27 to 29 June 2025. Following the CAF inspection, the MFR was informed that both the Anjali Kupen Stadium and new George V Stadium currently do not meet the minimum CAF Stadium requirement to host international matches. The CAF inspector highlighted that the Anjali Kupen Stadium requires major upgrading works in several areas to meet homologation requirement. The report also stated that the new George Stadium would require a full revamp and redesign to comply with CAF Stadium standard. Madam Speaker, I wish to highlight that the absence of an homologation does not prevent the playing of local football matches in this stadium. Nevertheless, my ministry has worked out a costing of the project, and it goes without saying that significant funds will be required for such work. The upgrading work have already started on both stadiums and will be carried out in phases. My ministry will continue to collaborate with the MFA and all relevant stakeholders to ensure that the upgrading work meet CAF standard and fully the requirement for homologation. A fresh inspection for the homologation process will be initiated once the required works have been completed.
Yes, one question.
Je vous remercie. Peut-on déduire de par la réponse de la ministre que son ministère, de même que la MFA, vont faire de l'homologation de ces 2 stades une priorité de façon à ce que les matchs de la sélection nationale ne se jouent pas uniquement au stade de Côte d'Or devant moins de 5000 spectateurs. Alors, ma question, est-ce que l'honorable ministre
Il a compris.
est en train de faire une priorité, donner une priorité à ces deux stades pour être homologués dans un proche avenir?
Yes, Madam Speaker, like I said in my reply, the answer is here. We are doing our best so that the two stadiums be homologated in very near future.
And upgraded. OK.
Madame la Présidente, rapidement,
Oui.
une dernière question. L'honorable ministre est sans doute au courant que par rapport aux deux derniers Jeux des îles qui ont été organisés ici à Maurice, l'État a dépensé plus de 230 millions de roupies pour la rénovation du stade Georges V. Donc, peut-on savoir depuis son entrée en fonction en tant que ministre des Sports?
Là, vous parlez d'un autre stade.
Non, Georges
Oui,
V. C'est le même.
Georges V,
Peut-on savoir quelles sont les mesures qu'il a prises pour rénover et s'il y a eu
Georges V.
effectivement des rénovations qui ont été effectuées au stade Georges V?
Madam Speaker, we have waited for 10 years.
No,
I've said in my reply that we are going by phases. And the honourable member would follow what the answer, the reply was. We are doing our best.
For
So
both
we started
stadiums. For both stadiums.
for both stadiums.
Yes, all right. Next question. Honourable First Member for Port Louis North and Montalon.
Merci, Madame. Question B, 1137.
Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that the Land Drainage Master Plan, commissioned by the Land Drainage Authority, was published on 25th August 2025, following Cabinet approval. A technical committee was set up in February 2025 to review the document. Following its recommendations, the master plan, together with the associated maps and data sets, were published in its entirety. The digital elevation model was also made accessible to the public. Madam Speaker, I'm informed that since the public release of the Land Drainage Master Plan and up to 28 November 2025, a total of 358 building and land use permit applications have been referred to the Land Drainage Authority by the local authorities. Madam Speaker, I'm also informed that the time required to process building and land use permit application depends mainly on, first, the submission of a complete set of documents, including site plans, drawings of the proposed development, the computer-aided design file in required format, and stormwater drainage reports where applicable. Second, the complexity of the proposed development, and third, the examination of stormwater drainage reports where warranted. Currently, the average processing time ranges from 1 working day to approximately 2 months, depending on the complexity of the case and the completeness of the submissions. Incomplete submissions or the omission of required documents inevitably delay the processing of applications. Madam Speaker, I must admit that there has been considerable delays in the processing of building and land use permit applications, and I am personally not satisfied with this situation. Therefore, in order to prevent undue delays in the examination of documents and the issuance of permits, a dedicated team of 4 officers has been constituted to work on backlog and expedite matters.
Yes?
Je remercie l'honorable ministre pour sa réponse. Peut-il expliquer ce qui sera fait pour ramener, j'ai bien compris la réponse, hein, le long délai avant que la LDA ne tranche sur une application? Merci.
Madam Speaker, as I just said, myself, I was not satisfied. There was only one officer working on that, on the work on all the documents and everything. Now I've set up a dedicated team of 4 officers and an engineer heading it. So I'm sure that we will be expediting matters for the permits.
Yes?
En ce qui concerne les demandes de permis pour des constructions qui se trouvent hors de la zone, de la red zone du master plan, pourquoi dans des cas également la LDA n'arrive pas à statuer et cela bloque les collectivités locales dans l'octroi du building and land permit use?
All these will be things of the past.
Yes? You're happy now, Ms. Sabavati?
I'm waiting for the results.
Yes, Honourable First Member for Lacave and Felix.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B 1138, please.
Madam Speaker, the Vakwa Popular Multipurpose Cooperative Society Limited was registered in 1977 and operates as a cooperative credit union with 4,591 active members. Its core activities include promoting savings, issuing secured loans, and undertaking property-related projects. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that the affairs of the Society have been managed by a caretaker board for 10 years until 13 July 2024, when a board of directors was elected democratically. The current board was constituted on 15 July 2024. Regarding Part A of the question, I wish to inform the House that I have received two separate letters, both highlighting long-standing issues with the Vakwa Multipurpose Cooperative Society. The first, an undated letter received on 28 February 2025. The second, also an undated and received on 23rd April 2025, was addressed to the Acting Director General of the Financial Crimes Commission and copied to the Prime Minister and myself, containing serious and disturbing allegations about the Society's governance. Given the gravity of his claims, I immediately instructed my officers to initiate an inquiry, following which a comprehensive report was produced and submitted to the relevant authorities. Concerning Part B of the question, I am informed that several cases of alleged mismanagement at the Society have been referred to the police, whilst others are presently pending before courts down the years. Madam Speaker, as regard to Part C, I wish to inform the House that I have taken cognizance of the communiqué issued on the 19th November 2025 regarding the proposed rupees 560 million sale of 27 arpents 15 perches of land at Ficanflac. The communiqué was signed by the manager and the treasurer, whereas such a decision must be approved and issued by the board through duly authorized office bearers, as required under the Society's rule. The process was therefore irregular from the outset. My ministry had already issued directive before the communiqué on the 18th November and a second directive on 25th of November this year, instructing the Society to halt the process and reminding it that any disposal of immovable property requires proper board approval members' authorization at a general meeting, and more importantly, a transparent and competitive bidding exercise, which was not followed. We further reiterated the Society's AML-CFT's obligations, including full customer due diligence. As the Society initially failed to comply, all 8 of its bank accounts across 5 banks were placed under stricter transaction control as provided by the law, with any payment now subject to prior vetting to my officers, by my officers. Madam Speaker, on Saturday, 29th of November 2025, the Society formally informed my ministry that the proposed sale has been halted and it would fully adhere to my ministry's directives, including conducting an open bidding exercise and submitting the selected bidder to a special general meeting for approval. The matter is currently being followed up by my ministry.
Okay, yes, Mr. Lobit, you're all right? Okay, now we have Honourable Second Member for Vieux-Grand-Port.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Is question B/1139, please.
Madam Speaker, all beaches along the coastal road from Bois des Amourettes to Quatre-Sœurs have been proclaimed as public beaches. And on the 22nd of January 2025, the said public beaches were vested with the Beach Authority. I am informed by the Beach Authority that cleaning and maintenance of these public beaches are carried out twice weekly in collaboration with Mori Facilities Management Company Limited. This includes the collection and removal of waste from the beach and rock revêtement, as well as regular grass cutting. Embellishment works have been already undertaken at Bambou-Vieilleux, Pointe-aux-Feuilles and Anse-Jonchée public beaches. Further enhancement and the planting of additional coastal vegetation will be considered subject to clearances being obtained from the Conservator of Forests. That is my answer, Madam.
Thank you. Yes? Mr. Lubin?
Madam B1140, please.
Madam Speaker, I have been apprised that the incinerator at Highlands was repaired, commissioned and handed over to the Council on 31st July 2025 by the contractor Steam House Limited. I am further informed the Council has already initiated procedures for the obtention of a fire certificate. Once a fire certificate has been issued by the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service, the incinerator will be made operational and available to members of the public.
Yeah. Yes, Madam Speaker,
yes.
one supplementary
You see,
question.
It's all about PQs being withdrawn.
Yes.
My time is consumed
Yes.
with that. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
May I ask the Honourable Minister, I know he's not the substantive minister for this question. Do we have a time frame as to when this fire certificate will be issued? Because we have already visited this place on several occasions whereby we were being told that it will be operational in a few days or very soon, but it's like nearly 4 months and inhabitants over there are facing serious difficulties.
Unfortunately, the requirements of the fire services hasn't been met. For example, they have asked for the replacement of PVC tubing used to feed the water spray system with galvanized iron or steel tubing. This has not yet been done. I hope that probably in the days to come that will be accomplished.
Thank you, Minister. Yes, Dr. Prayag.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B1141.
Madam Speaker, as I had already indicated since my taking of office, several of the sports infrastructure over the island are either out of use or in a bad state. The Rivière du Rempart swimming pool, which is managed and maintained by the Mauritius Sport Council since 1st July 2022, form part of those infrastructure which are in a bad state, although in a lower scale. I'm informed by the Mauritius Sport Council that the Rivière du Rempart swimming pool is operational and it is manned by some 15 persons. It is being used on average by some 100 users on a daily basis. A research survey and safety and health inspection have revealed that only one of the 3 water pumps is in operation. A door was damaged in the changing room and a chemical which are currently stored in the pump room should be relocated outside. The scope of work for the repairs of the water pump is being prepared, while that of the construction of a storage facility has been finalized and tender will be launched shortly. The damaged door has already been repaired.
Yes, fine. Okay. I think I must tell you what I received from the low table. B 1126, which was to be replied, Mr. François, by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, you have withdrawn that as well. And now I have B 1142, B 1169, B 1167, and B 1153. All of these have been withdrawn. I'm going to try and follow. So now that I've finished with that, I have, Mr. Duval is not here. I will call Mr. Seaburn, Honourable Second Member. 1144? No.
1145, please.
Huh? Yes. 43, Dr. Prayag? Yes. I'm sorry. There were two questions for you.
Yes.
So I missed one.
That's okay. B1143.
C'est un peu
Madam
grand
Speaker,
désordre. Hein?
I wish to inform the House that in November 2021, Gift of the Givers Foundation, which is the largest disaster response non-governmental organization of African origin on the African continent, informed this ministry through Prime Minister's office that they were in the capacity to donate continuous positive airway pressure CPAP machines to Mauritius. It is good to note that an evaluation committee set up at the ministry reported that the CPAP machine branded as CSIR LIFE was a very basic device. It was non-invasive ventilator which was not registered by the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority. It was authorized to be used only for emergency ventilation during COVID-19 pandemic, but was not appropriate for use in COVID high dependency unit or COVID intensive care units, but could be used in COVID wards in regional hospitals. Madam Speaker, after complying to the requirements for the donation, the South African government, National Department of Health were agreeable to donate 500 CPAP machines to gift of the givers for onward donations to Mauritius. The foundation later informed that the final donation would contain 501 CPAP machines and 2,500 spare circuits packed in 167 boxes. The ministry was expected to cover the cost of the shipment from Tambo International Airport, Joburg, South Africa to SSI International Airport, arrange for custom clearance and bear the logistic cost for the storage, transportation and distribution of the machines in public hospitals in Mauritius. At the time of shipment, the agent reported that the donor informed that out of 167 boxes expected for donation, 14 boxes were damaged and a further 2 could not be sent since the serial numbers of the machines didn't match those on the packing list. Eventually, only 135 boxes were shipped to Mauritius at a total cost of 318,449 rupees and 7 cents, excluding VAT. The shipment reached Mauritius on or about 1st July 2022 and would deliver to Central Supplies Division, Castello Ministry of Health and Wellness for storage and distribution. The 139 boxes were verified by the procurement officer of the CSD and were reported to contain a total of 415 CAP machines with an expiry date of October 2022 instead of January 2023 as labeled on the boxes. Madam Speaker, 354 out of 415 CPAP machines were distributed among public health institutions. It was issued to the one was issued to the High Commissioner's Office of South African High Commission, and 60 units have been expired and are still stocked at the CSD. With the permission, Madam Speaker, a detailed distribution list will be is being tabled.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Dr. Brad. Good. Now, fourth member for Port Louis North, Mr. Duval.
Yes.
B1144.
Yes, B1144.
Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that under Section 14 of the Higher Education Act, any institution that establishes itself in Mauritius and offers higher education courses is required to be registered with the Higher Education Commission before it can update or advertise programs locally. In regard to BHM International University, Spain, I'm advised by HEC as follows. BIU is not registered in Mauritius as a higher education institution. It has never submitted an application for registration to HEC. Consequently, it doesn't appear on the official register of the higher education institution maintained by HEC under the Act. Consequently, for overseas institutions that are not on the registered list established by HEC, HEC relies on the structured process for determining whether their qualifications may be recognized. First, the Higher Education Commission checks its database of overseas universities and institutions whose qualifications have been evaluated and recognized previously. If the institution doesn't appear in that database, then HEC formally consults the competent authorities in the country where the institution claims to be established, normally the National QA, Accreditation or Higher Education Authority. In the specific case of BIU, I'm informed by the Higher Education Commission that it is neither registered in Mauritius nor it is on the existing list of overseas institutions already recognized by HEC. Consequently, HEC has written to the relevant Spanish authorities to seek formal confirmation of the legal status and recognition of BIU in Spain. At this point in time, the Commission is awaiting a written reply.
Yes. Now we have Mr. Siban.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question 1145, please.
Madam Speaker, I would like to refer the Honourable Member to the replies I made to PQB 223 on 25th March 2025 and to PQB 616 on 8 July 2025, wherein I informed the House that the Flat Maibour B28 road had been severely affected following the pipeline works undertaken by the Central Water Authority. The resurfacing works, which are currently ongoing along the stretch from Bambou-Verrier to Pointe du Diable, are being carried out by the CWA in accordance with the way-leave conditions issued by the Road Development Authority to reinstate the road after the trenching and excavation works. Madam Speaker, the Southeast regions, including Bambou-Verrier, Ange-Joncé, Bois des Amourettes, Vieux-Grand-Port, Rivière-des-Créoles, Petit-Bel-Air, and Grand-Bel-Air were declared by the Land Drainage Authority as high-risk flood-prone areas since April 2021. The study and implementation of flood mitigation measures in the region of Bambou-Verrier were entrusted to the National Development Unit in 2021. A preliminary design report for the flood mitigation measures in the Bambou-Verrier region was prepared by Servan Singh Jadhav and partners, consulting engineers, and submitted to the LDA in August 2022. Subsequently, geotechnical investigations were carried out along the proposed cut-off drain alignment in September 2023. Based on these findings, the consultant prepared and submitted a detailed design report, which was approved by the LDA in January 2024. The scope of works under the approved DDR includes the following. First, provision of cut-off drain 1 to 2 meters wide and 0.7 to 1.5 meters deep to intercept flows from the mountain slopes. Second, construction of a new culvert and upgrading of existing culverts along B28 road in Bambou-Verrier region. Third, raising and realignment of the B28 road. And fourth, upgrading of feeder Antoine, feeder Soukan, and Rivilé Bambou. Madam Speaker, regarding part A of the question, I am informed that in view of extensive land acquisition requirements, the following two projects along the stretch from Bambou-Verrier to Pointe du Diable were entrusted to the Drain Infrastructure Construction Limited in March 2024 for implementation. First, flood mitigation measures at Bambou-Verrier, and second, flood mitigation measures at Petit Sable and Grand Sable. Flood mitigation measures at Bambou-Verrier. I am further informed by the ICL that the first procurement exercise for Bambou-Verrier project was launched on 3rd September 2024 through an open advertised bidding process. However, the exercise was not conclusive due to the high bid prices. Accordingly, the DICL board recommended that the bids be relaunched at a later stage upon securing financial clearance for a revised cost estimate. Funds for preparation of the project has been earmarked under the Climate and Sustainability Fund. The bid documents are ready. Once financial clearance is obtained for the revised cost estimate, the bidding exercise will be relaunched. As regards the project at Petit Sab and Grand Sab, DICL issued a works order in November 2022 to Servansing Jadav and Partners Consulting Engineers Limited for inter alia the preparation of the bidding document. Geotechnical investigations were subsequently undertaken and the findings were incorporated into the DDR, which was submitted in May 2024 together with the LDS clearance. Following a technical meeting in July 2024, the draft bidding document and cost estimate were finalized and subsequently in October 2024. However, under the Climate and Sustainability Fund, no funds have been earmarked in the current financial year 2025-2026 for the implementation of the project. Funds have been earmarked only for the preparation of the project, and as such, DICL cannot initiate the land acquisition procedures or launch the bids during this financial year. My ministry will make arrangements for funds to be made available for implementation of the projects in the next financial year. Madam Speaker, in parallel, the RDA has in the pipeline the project for the upgrading of the B28 road from Villenois to Anse-Zoncé and from Anse-Zoncé to De Frères, which makes provision for the rehabilitation and construction of drains, culverts and bridges. The design for these sections had already been completed and the RDA will submit the appropriate budgetary proposals in due course. In addition, the RDA has already completed the following: the construction of 4 culverts and slope stabilization works over a length of 200 meters under the project upgrading of B28 road from De Frères to Bel-Air, phase 1. Second, the construction of 4 culverts and 2 bridges under the project flood mitigation measures at Anse-Zoncé along B28 road. And third, the upgrading of existing roadside drains and the construction of new drains under the project upgrading of B28 road, lot 3 from De Frères to Bel-Air, phase 2. In the meantime, the RDA continues to carry out regular inspection to ensure the cleanliness and functioning of the existing drains along B28 road. A survey has already been completed and works orders will shortly be issued to contractors under the framework agreement for cleaning, desilting and minor upgrading works.
Thank you, Minister. Yes, Mr. Rukni.
Madam Speaker, B1146.
Madam Speaker, I am informed by the Financial Services Commission that on average, the FSC receives around 2,400 global business companies applications annually. As regards the date of submission of pending applications for GBCs, as at 15 November 2025, there are currently 120 applications pending, the oldest one dating back to April 2023. Madam Speaker, as regards part B of the question, I'm informed that it is for GBCs engaged in financial services activities that prior approval of the FSC is required for the appointment of or renewal of directors. The average time taken for the approval or renewal of directors is 14 days. As regards part C1 of the question, the FSC has received 62 complaints over the last 2 years for excessive delays for processing application of GBCs and domestic companies. Out of these complaints, 6 concern domestic companies and 56 concern GBCs. As regards part C2 of the question, I'm informed by the FSC that as at date, no formal complaint has been received in respect of delays in the processing of directors' appointment or renewals. Madam Speaker, the delays relating to licensing issues at the FSC underscores the need for continued improvement to strengthen efficiency and effectiveness. Since I took office a year ago, I have had extensive consultations with the industry stakeholders, and one of the most recurrent issue and problem that has come up are delays in processing of application. This clearly impacts on the ease of doing business and the competitiveness of the Mauritius International Financial Center. This is why in the Financial Services Strategy Report 2025-2030, ease of doing business has been recognized as one of the key 5 pillars. Madam Speaker, a new Chief Executive of the FSC has been appointed since September 2015. One of the key priorities of the FSC board and the new leadership is to improve the ease of doing business. The Chief Executive of FSC also chairs the subcommittee of the Financial Services Consultative Council, which has just been reconstituted. He chairs the Ease of Doing Business subcommittee of the FSCC, which reinforces the mandate and our drive to make improvements with regard to delays. I'm also informed that FSC has started implementing a series of measures, including upgrading of its application forms, and has embarked since November 2025 on the testing phase of a digital interface to make the process easier, clearer, and more efficient. The new modes of application contain enhanced features that guide applicants step by step, reducing mistakes and incomplete submission. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, I wish to say that timely processing of application is critical for the industry as we are competing globally. This is therefore a top priority for the FSC, and we are actively working on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Ropsi.
Madam Speaker, I must first of all thank the Minister for the very extensive reply. I would like to ask, in view of the 62 complaints received from management companies over the last 2 years, would she consider requesting the FSC to set up a special desk to handle complaints that is separate from the normal processes doing incorporations or applications?
I totally concur with the Honourable Member that we have already communicated to have a special desk, and also to communicate, to have a line of communication with clients, because very often clients are left without any communication.
Yes, Mr. Bijan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B1147.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed that the Beau Plateau Road is not a classified road, and as such it falls under the jurisdiction of local authority, namely the District Council of Rivière-du-Rempart. This road extends over a length of approximately 3.8 kilometers, and its width varies between 4 to 6 meters. As regard to party of the question, I'm informed that the project is currently at the conceptualization stage. Once all necessary clearances, including financial approval and those related to land acquisition, are obtained, the project will be implemented by the District Council of Rivière-du-Rempart. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, enlarging the road would, as stated earlier, require land acquisition, construction of retaining walls, pavements and drains, as well as provisions of handrails, modern poles, solar lanterns, and other associated infrastructural works, as rightly highlighted by the Honourable Member. The District Council of Rivière-du-Rempart has been requested to consult stakeholders and a technical committee to be set up accordingly.
Yes. Is that all right? Yes, okay. The Honourable Second Member for Audrey.
Thank you. B1148.
Madam Speaker, the Union des Fédérations de Football de l'Océan Indien was a regional football confederation for the Indian Ocean and operated under the African Football Confederation. Its main function was to organize football tournaments particularly for youth categories. It comprised 6 member associations, namely Mauritius, Madagascar, Réunion Island, Comoros, Seychelles, and Mayotte. Madam Speaker, l'Union des fédérations de football de l'océan Indien has been dissolved in October 2025, and a new organization, the l'Union des fédérations des îles et archipels, was established on the 9th November 2025 by the 6-member association, namely Mauritius, Madagascar, Réunion, Comoros, Seychelles, and Mayotte. Madam Speaker, with regard to part A of the question, I'm informed by the Mauritius Football Association that the Roderick Regional Football Association was never a member of the Union des fédérations de football de l'océan Indien. However, Roderick was invited as a special guest to participate in youth competition, namely under 15 boys and girls tournament in 2016 and 2017, upon the proposal of the Mauritius Football Association. With regard to Rodrigues forming part of the newly established union, the Fédération des Îles et l'Archipel, I'm informed by the Mauritius Football Association that for future tournaments, Rodrigues will be integrated within the selection of the Republic of Mauritius in line with national representation norms for future tournaments. I would like to point out that the Roderick Regional Football Association forms part of the Mauritius Football Association, just like the other regional football association and mainland Mauritius. Madam Speaker, with regard to part C of the question concerning Roderick's inclusion in the national plan for the relance du football, I would refer the honourable member to my reply to PQB 999 at our sitting on 11 November 2025. In accordance with the Sport Act 2016, Rodrigues is recognized as one of the 13 sport regions of Mauritius. Each sport region will benefit from the same program, support, and development initiatives under the plan, and Rodrigues will therefore be fully included in all future action to raise the level of our football to new height across the Republic.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Member for his answer. May I ask the Honourable Minister whether he is aware if the new FFIOI Association adopted a new statute, and if he is in possession of same and he can circulate same in the interest of footballers. The new statute.
Under the plan of relance du football, Madam Speaker, including Rodrigue, will benefit from the same development measures. Like I said in my reply, the program includes infrastructure, upgrading, technical training, youth development, pathways, and regional competition. Rodrigues will therefore receive equitable support within the national framework.
Second supplementary,
Yes,
Madam Speaker.
yes.
Madame la Présidente, Monsieur l'honorable ministre, pour l'avancement du football, en tant qu'ancien sportif moi-même, et meilleur athlète du décembre de Rodrigue et ancien footballeur évoluant en première division Rodriguez, comme buteur. Buteur.
Comme buteur.
J'aimerais bien demander à l'honorable ministre, serait-il disposé à militer ou à porter ou soutenir ou à même défendre auprès de la FIFA un projet sportif international venant de Maurice, de la République de Maurice, visant à organiser la Coupe du monde de football dédiée spécifiquement aux îles ou nations insulaires du monde entier.
Super.
I will take what the member has just said into consideration.
Very good. Very good. Yes. Honourable third member for Rivière-des-Anguilles.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B1149.
Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that previously there was no angiography machine at Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital. It is now that the equipment is being installed and will be operational in the coming weeks. With regard to Part A1 of the question for the period 2020 to October 2025, I am informed that 10,489 angiography cases were performed at Victoria Hospital. During the same period, 1,026 patients from Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital requiring angiography procedures have been referred to other hospitals. Madam Speaker, with regard to waiting list, I am also informed that as at October 2025, there were 46 patients on the waiting list at Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital, whose waiting time of approximately 3 weeks, and at Victoria Hospital, there were 380 patients on the waiting list with a waiting time of 11 weeks. Madam Speaker, as regard Part A2 of the question, there are currently 5 angiography machines that are available in public hospitals, with 1 installed at Dr. Jitu Hospital, 2 at Cardiac Trust Fund for Specialized Medical Care, SSR National Hospital, Pamplemousses, and 2 at Victoria Hospital. In addition, angiography machine, which was left unutilized at Dr. Jitu Hospital, had been transferred to Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital. Moreover, with the setting up of cath lab services at Jawaharlal Nehru and Saj Hospital, the number of angiography procedures will definitely reduce the waiting time, thus relieving the suffering of our patients. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, my ministry is resorting to extra sessions after normal working hours to curb down the waiting time for angiography procedures. In the meantime, training is being provided to paramedical staff in order to enable them to provide adequate angiography services. Madam Speaker, the House may wish to note that there has not been any action to provide angiography services at Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital for the past so many years, despite the fact that there was a Minister of Health from this particular region. Nothing was done to alleviate the suffering for the people in the southern part, and patients had to be referred to other hospitals. And adding insult to injury, our angiography machine donated by the government of Japan was left idle at Dr. Jitu Hospital for nearly 6 months and was eventually transferred to Cardiac Trust Fund, SSR National Hospital, Pamplemousses. It's regretful that this machine could have been transferred to Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital, where optimum life-saving intervention could have been made to relieve the inhabitants of the southern region. In the meantime, training is also being provided to medical and paramedical staff to use the angiography machine at Jawaharlal Nehru Hospital. I wish to inform the House that 1 angiography machine will be installed at Flak Hospital in 2026. The procurement procedures have already been initiated for the acquisition of this equipment, which will provide a proximity service to patients in the eastern region.
Yes, Madam.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the Honourable Minister consider the implementation or setting up of a formal framework with a view to developing and using an evidence-based system based on the clinical needs and urgency of patients?
Madam Speaker, all these things are being looked into. And I can even now announce by next year, the Rosebell Hospital will have additional departments, including one renal department, which is being provided by the Government of India. And also there will be, apart from this, there will also be other operations, there will be surgical operations which will be conducted, including even lung surgery.
Lung surgery. Lung. Yes. Okay, you're all right. Mr. Bijan? No, I'm sorry. Mr. Seaburn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's question B/1150, please.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed that the National Development Unit proceeded with the upgrading of the Bois des Amourettes football ground in 2 phases as follows. Phase 1, upgrading of the Bois des Amourettes football ground, which comprised the returfing of the whole pitch, and Phase 2, upgrading of the frontage fencing of the Bois des Amourettes football ground. Madam Speaker, for Phase 1, the contract was allocated to Sotrafic Limited on 17 February 2023 for an amount of 6,715,349.80 by the NDU under its framework agreement for amenities. The scope of works included the following: excavation of 700 mètres cubes of existing topsoil, provision of 1,050 mètres cubes of imported fill for returfing works, supply of 600 mètres cubes of vegetable topsoil, provision of 135 mètres of French drains around the area of the football pitch, supply and placing of 2125 mètres cubes of spoils of size 200-300 mm in size, felling of 4 trees, and supply and planting of grass chien dent of an extent of 4250 mètres carrés. Madam Speaker, as regard to phase 2 of the project, the NDU awarded a second contract to Sotravic Limited on 30 January 2024 for an amount of 4,113,109,55 under its framework agreement for amenities. The scope of work concerned the upgrading of the frontage fencing, which consisted of demolition of existing block wall over a length of 84 meters, excavation and laying of blinding concrete, construction of a new 1 meter high block wall fencing with 4.5 meter high galvanized metal fencing over a length of 84 meters, remedial works to damaged turfing of football ground, and provision of a new main gate 4 meter wide and 1 pedestrian gate. Madam Speaker, the final handing over exercise to the District Council of Grand Port for phase 1 and phase 2 of the project was carried out on 16 January 2025. I'm informed that snags were identified during the handing over exercise. The discrepancies identified were leveling of the topsoil, presence of pebbles, and maintenance of grass turfing, which were not to adequate lengths. Madam Speaker, follow-up was done through monthly site visits by the NDU and the contractor Sotravic Limited to review the status of the remedial works. On 21st October 2025, the final handing over was carried out successfully after all remedial works were cleared by the contractor and the site was taken over by the District Council of Grand Port. Madam Speaker, I'm further informed that during a site visit carried out by the 3 MPs of the constituency, together with representatives of the District Council of Grand Port and the contractor on 19 November 2025, it was observed that the football ground was uneven and there were presence of pebbles on the pitch. Madam Speaker, I have also been informed that during the Regatta Festival held from 29 to 31st August 2025, the football pitch was used to park vehicles, which I understand damaged the playground. I would here seize this opportunity to inform the House that henceforth football grounds would not be used as parking space, but only for the specific purpose for which it is meant for. Madam Speaker, being given that the football ground is now contractually under the responsibility of the District Council of Grand Port, the latter has been requested to carry out the remedial works. Madam Speaker, as for part B of the question, the football pitch will be operational once all remedial works are completed by the District Council and the ground certified fit for use.
Yes, Mr. Auriaro.
5-1.
Madam Speaker, let me at the outset state that when we look at the evolution of reputable international arbitration centres worldwide, there has been no magical wand employed to propel them to the place of respect that they currently enjoy. Their current status has been the result of enduring, consistent and incremental strategies developed and adapted over the years. I have to say that governments hosting reputable international arbitration centres have been very careful in giving support to these centres to avoid a direct interventionist approach that runs counter to the very spirit of neutral, independent resolution of disputes. In these successful ventures, governments have been mere catalysts, leveraging on the invaluable input of their private sector. The examples I have in mind are the Singapore International Arbitration Centre and the Hong Kong International Arbitration Centre. Hong Kong one was established in 1985, the Singapore one in 1991, and it took both of them a number of years to flourish into the respected arbitration centres that they now are. In Mauritius, we started our international arbitration venture in or about 2008 with the enactment of the International Arbitration Act based on the UN Citral model law. This was followed by the establishment in Mauritius in September 2010 of the first office of the Permanent Court of Arbitration outside The Hague, with the Secretary General of the PCA having the functions of appointing authority for the arbitral tribunal. Subsequently, the Mauritius International Arbitration Centre, the MIAC, was set up in 2011 as a fully owned government company and operated as a joint venture with the London Court of International Arbitration until 2018. I'm informed that towards the third quarter of 2018, MIAC continued its operation with support from the PCA under a management agreement. In 2019, MIAC and PCA, originally housed in Neban, migrated to new premises in Kudan with a state-of-the-art arbitration suite and of international standard. I'm informed that MIAC and the Mauritius office of the PCA have been involved in increasing the visibility of Mauritius as an international arbitration jurisdiction by participation in various international arbitration events. I am also informed that MIAC has signed numerous cooperation agreements with prominent international arbitration institutions, including the International Centre for Settlement of Investment Disputes. I'm further informed that the PCA continues to administer an increasing number of cases through its Mauritius office, and that this year marks the 15th anniversary of its establishment in Port Louis, a milestone celebrated with the participation of the Honourable Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, myself, members of the Judiciary and the Bar Council. The presence of the Secretary General of the PCA on this occasion testifies to the importance attached by the PCA to its partnership with Mauritius. The years post-2016, Madam Speaker, also saw a transformation in the structure of the MCCI Mediation and Arbitration Centre, commonly known as MARC, with increased emphasis on international arbitration. I'm informed that MARC has also hearing facilities of high international standard. Moreover, as announced by the Honourable Prime Minister, Government is presently working with the Mauritius Chamber of Commerce and Industry towards the consolidation of alternative dispute resolution services in Mauritius through the prospective merger of MIAC and MARC. I have not later than yesterday, Madam Speaker, engaged with the MCCI to push through this matter so that it becomes reality in the next few months. In fine, Madam Speaker, in parallel with these institutional developments, sustained efforts have also been made to build domestic capacity in international arbitration. I'm informed that the PCA Mauritius Fellowship Programme, in place since September 2016, provides for the annual employment of a young Mauritian lawyer at the Permanent Court of Arbitration for 1 year, thereby contributing to the development of local expertise. Furthermore, various trainings, lectures, conferences, and other knowledge-sharing initiatives are regularly undertaken by the PCA, MIAC, and several Mauritian organizations involved in dispute resolution. These capacity-building measures have strengthened the local arbitration ecosystem and contributed to Mauritius being consistently regarded as a safe seat for arbitration, as reflected in reputable international assessments such as the Delos Guide to Arbitration Places. In fine, Madam Speaker, Mauritius has over the years developed all the necessary bases to be a reliable, suitable and efficient international arbitration jurisdiction, starting with a law-based unicitral model law, then with credible arbitration institutions with recognizable rules of international standard, and finally with state-of-the-art hearing facilities. Finally, making Mauritius a beacon for international arbitration in the region does not boil down to inventing new measures, but to first rationalizing and capitalizing on what we already have. Government fully realizes the potential that exists in international arbitration and is, without being unduly interventionist, determined to explore and facilitate the creation of appropriate channels to leverage on the goodwill we have already acquired in the field of international arbitration. But this has to be done in, as I said before, an incremental fashion, whilst giving full and careful consideration to the needs of the moment.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. You're right. Honourable Second Member for Belrose-Quatre-Bornes.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. 1152.
Madam Speaker, I wish to draw the attention of the Honourable Member that L'Oiseau du Paradis shelter has been closed down since the 5th of June 2025, following an incident which occurred on the 1st of June 2025 when 3 minors absconded. A rapid drug test was conducted on the minors, which revealed positive results for cannabis in 2 children, while the 3rd child was tested negative. As regards Part A, 1 of the question, the residential care institution, the RCI, can accommodate a maximum of 30 boys aged between 5 and 17 years old. Regarding Part A2 of the question, 33 caregivers, 2 general workers, 3 cleaners, and 2 cooks employed by the National Children's Council have been redeployed to Cap l'Espoir in Cap Malheureux as from 1st December 2025, that is yesterday. In addition, a shelter manager has been appointed by the board of the National Children's Council and will take office as from tomorrow. As for Part B of the question, it is envisaged that the residential care institution of Cap Malheureux will resume operation as from 4th December 2025, and my ministry will ensure that the RCI adheres to all safety and regulatory standards of the RCI for Children Regulations 2022. My ministry has a dedicated team of enforcement officers who will conduct regular visits at the RCI to ensure that it is fully compliant with the safety and regulatory standards. Madam Speaker, the shelter is currently undergoing renovation works comprising painting, installation of burglar-proofing to openings, replacement of ceramic tiles, among others, following a tender exercise. Work started on the 15th of November 2025 and will be completed by Wednesday, 3rd December 2025. I wish to inform the House that yesterday all staff turned up, except 6 who were on vacation and casual leave. I wish also to point out that the child caregivers have been provided with training on child psychology and on legal matters in November 2025 by senior officers of my ministry in collaboration with Pedostop, a registered NGO. Continuous training will be dispensed to the staff working at the shelter to equip them with the required skills in carrying out their duties. Yes, allez-y.
Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. Je remercie la ministre pour sa réponse. On comprend qu'un maximum de 30 enfants seront placés dans cet abri sous la responsabilité du même personnel qui l'a rendu tristement célèbre. La ministre peut-elle informer la Chambre si c'est ainsi qu'elle entend professionnaliser cet abri et donner l'assurance que les mêmes dérives ne se reproduiront pas? Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Madame la Présidente, j'ai répondu que les caregivers ont eu la formation nécessaire pendant le mois de novembre, de par nos officiers du ministère et l'ONG Pedostop. J'ai rencontré les caregivers personnellement, ils m'ont assuré que leur mindset a changé. Donc je compte sur eux. Il y a toujours est-il, Madame la Présidente, qu'il y a 25 personnes, 25 employés qui sont suspendus, qui ont été suspendus de juillet 2018 à ce jour. Donc, nous comptons recruter ces personnes-là au fur et à mesure.
D'autres personnes. Vous voulez recruter d'autres personnes?
Non, on va, allons dire, réintégrer ces personnes suspendues. The case will be taken on a case-to-case basis by the board of the National Children's Council after all charges have been cleared against these persons.
Deuxième, je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente. Pour éviter les dérives du passé, La ministre peut-elle indiquer à la Chambre si elle considère que 2 demi-journées de formation en psychologie et 1 journée sur le droit des enfants en 6 mois de fermeture suffisent à redresser un abri pour sa gestion chronique défaillante? Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Certainement pas, Madame la Présidente. C'est pourquoi, dans ma dernière phrase, à la question, j'ai dit « Continuous training will be dispensed to the staff working at the shelter ». Donc, la formation sera continue.
Oui, Madame Savapati.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Est-ce que la ministre peut nous dire quelle garantie que nous avons que le mindset va changer? Merci.
Je n'ai aucune garantie, Madame.
Vous avez encore une question?
En fait, j'ai encore 2, mais je ne sais pas si vous allez me permettre. Vous savez, Madame la Présidente,
C'est un sujet tellement important. Je vais vous
ces
permettre.
enfants ne méritent pas l'indifférence. Ils méritent dignité,
Pas de-
sécurité
pas de commentaires.
et tout.
Question.
Non, mais c'est ça, je dis, si vous me permettez. Alors, la ministre peut-elle expliquer pourquoi le problème d'égout situé dans la cour de l'établissement, à proximité de la cuisine, et qui nécessite l'intervention des camions de Suivez pour le pompage des toilettes toutes les 2 semaines, persiste, et si un tel manquement est compatible avec les normes de santé et de sécurité applicables aux enfants en accueil résidentiel. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Madame la Présidente, j'ai répondu, j'ai dit dans ma réponse qu'il y a des works which are going on et tout sera réglé dans les meilleurs délais.
Dernière.
Vraiment dernière. Alors, vous savez, Madame la Présidente, sous l'Ancien Régime, ma demande de visiter l'oiseau du paradis par un groupe de parlementaires des 2 côtés de la Chambre avait été refusée. La ministre peut-elle indiquer si cette fois-ci, elle accordera l'accès à l'abri à un petit groupe de parlementaires des 2 côtés de la Chambre? Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Certainement, Madame la Présidente.
Très bien. Monsieur Roukni, vous aviez une question? Ah, j'ai cru voir votre main. Là, c'était pour dire bonjour. Très bien, l'oiseau du paradis. Espérons que ce sera le paradis, Madame la ministre. Alors, maintenant, nous avons Monsieur Roukni. Ah, c'était pour ça.
Madam Speaker, B 1154.
Madam Speaker, allow me to reply to this PQ on behalf of the substantive Minister of Agro-Industry, Food Security, Blue Economy and Fisheries. The Division of Veterinary Services of my ministry issues permit for import of frozen, chilled, ambient and dry meat products from several countries including Australia, New Zealand, France, Ireland, South Africa and India. With regard to Part A of the question, I wish to inform the House that for the last quarter of 2024, around 2,300 goats, 2,650 sheep, and 1,181 cattle were imported from South Africa. For the last quarter of this year, the Division of Veterinary Services has already issued import permit to Sokovia, Bellevue Limited, for importation of 3,000 goats, 3,000 sheep, and 994 cattle from South Africa. 649 cattle reached on 21st November 2025, while 3,000 goats, 3,000 sheep, and 345 cattle are expected to land on the 3rd December 2025. The Commission of Agriculture, Rodrigues Regional Assembly, has informed my ministry that a quota of 1,150 livestock, including 800 goats and sheep, will be made available for the final quarter of 2025. Furthermore, I'm informed by the Food and Agricultural Research and Extension Institute that around 4,500 goats and 100 sheep are estimated to be potentially available from local farmers in December 2025. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, I wish to inform the House that I have received assurance that there will be no substantial increase in the price of cattle, goat and sheep during the forthcoming festive season. Furthermore, my ministry will set up a monitoring committee with the representatives of the Ministry of Commerce and Consumer Protection, the Mauritius Meat Authority, the importers, and the Association of Butchers, with a view to ensuring that the price of meat remains stable and affordable for the festive season. As regards Part C of the question, in line with the decision taken by government on 24th October 2025 to have recourse to 100% non-structural protein ELISA test and 10% solid phase competition ELISA test on livestock imported from South Africa due to the foot and mouth disease, it is expected that the additional testing costs incurred by the importer will be absorbed in the overall pricing structure, resulting in no significant increase in retail price and no disruption in the supply of meat. Madam Speaker, in addition, with the number of livestock being imported, the quota submitted by Rodrigues Regional Assembly, and the availability on the local farms, it is expected that there will be no shortage of meat during the festive season. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Olty, you're okay. Okay, now we have second member for Quartier Militaire, Madame Tanou.
Apologies, it has been withdrawn as well.
Okay, it's all right. I'm getting used to this. The Honourable Second Member for Grand Bay Poudre-d'Or, Mr. Bijan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B1156.
Madam Speaker, the building in question doesn't fall under the responsibility of my ministry. I'm fully aware of the difficulties faced by the inhabitants of Goodland, Rousté, Grand Group, Chirafri and surrounding areas who currently have to travel to Rivière du Rempart to obtain cremation and burial permits. I wish to inform the House of the Prime Minister's Office, the Ministry of Local Government and my ministry will look into providing a single point office in Goodlands for the issue of burial and cremation permits.
Hello, okay? Let me tell you, otherwise I'm completely confused. Now, the table has been advised that the following PQs has and have been withdrawn. B1159, coming soon. B1171, 1157, also coming soon. 1173, 1166, 1160, and 1164. I am saying once more, we must find a better solution to this. It gets very confusing after a while. Okay, let us go on. If I make a mistake, you just tell me. So, Mr. Bijan, you're okay? Okay. Now we have Mr. Kazan. It has been withdrawn. Yes, I just mentioned it. 57. Okay. Je vais essayer de me retrouver dans tout ça. Je ne vais pas dire un mot méchant. Alors, Ms. Daoui Arouigan.
Speaker B1158.
Madam Speaker, Chateau Benares, located in the district of Savan, was designated as a national heritage on 6 May 2022 in view of its historical significance. Although it is a national heritage, it is vested in the District Council of Savan, and any restoration works have to be undertaken by the latter organization under the supervision and technical guidance of the National Heritage Fund. Madam Speaker, I am informed that officers of my ministry and the National Heritage Fund have carried out several site visits in the past, during which advice was duly provided to the District Council of Savan. Since 2023, an architect and an engineer employed by my ministry under the Expert Scales Program have been conducting surveys thereat, and a preliminary report together with recommendations to, inter alia, recruit a specialist with experience in the restoration of heritage building were made. With regard to part A of the question, I am informed that in view of the prevailing economic situation, the project has been placed in abeyance by the District Council of Savan. With regard to part B and C of the question, I am informed that since the project has been put in abeyance, no contractor has been appointed. As such, no start and no completion dates have been set up. Thank you.
Yes? You're okay? All right, so now we don't do 1159. We go to Dr. Prayag. First member for Piton, Rivière Durand. Yours has also been
Has been withdrawn, madam.
also, okay? Honorable First Member for La Caverne Phoenix, Mr. Lobby.
E1161, please.
Madam Speaker, concerning part A of the question, I am informed by the Registrar of Cooperative Societies that since 2018, the National Transport Corporation Employees Cooperative Credit Union Limited has undertaken a restructuring of its capital to adapt to changing economic conditions. To that effect, members' share capital was transferred to a deposit account, while a minimum share of 100 rupee was maintained for each member. Since then, payouts to members have been in the form of interest on deposits instead of dividends on shares. It has been reported that at the annual general meeting of the National Transport Corporation Employees Cooperative Credit Union Limited, held on the 12th of July 2025, the Assembly unanimously approved the payments of interest on deposits for the years 2022, 23, 24 as follows. For year 2022, on a deposit of 30,912,986 rupees, interest of 1,174,693 rupees to be paid at the rate of 3.8%. For the year 2023, an amount of 614,789 rupees to be paid as interest to the rate of 2% on a deposit of rupees 30,739,448 rupees, and an amount of 787,246 rupees to be paid as interest for the year 2024 at the rate of 2.45% of a deposit of 31,489,859 rupees. An amount of 1,339,322 was credited to members' individual bank accounts, and 1,237,407 rupees were transferred to members' deposit accounts as per their wish. Madam Speaker, as regards to part B of the question, I am informed that a petition was received from the members of the National Transport Corporation Employees Cooperative Credit Union Limited, requesting the removal of the caretaker board and to proceed with democratic election of members. Accordingly, my ministry had approved the removal of the caretaker board on the 19th August 2025 and has authorized the society to proceed with the election of a democratically elected board in accordance with Section 41(3)(d) of the Cooperatives Act 2016. Concurrently, my ministry sought the advice of the State Law Office on the eligibility of members of the society who were previously in the elected board as to whether they could stand for re-election. The Solicitor General has, in a letter dated 14th November 2025, highlighted that in two reports from my ministry dated 11 December 2015 and 28 July 2025, respectively, it was observed that funds have been misused and mismanaged. The Solicitor General has thus advised that pursuant to Section 48G of the Cooperatives Act, all members of the previous board who were subject to reports would not be qualified to stand as candidates for the post of director in the upcoming election. Madam Speaker, the society has recently been informed of the advice of the Solicitor General about the ineligibility of members who were reported for misuse and mismanagement of funds to stand as candidates for the forthcoming elections.
Yes, all right. Thank you. Yes, Honourable First Member for Portbridge North.
Thank you, Madam. Question B 1162.
I wish to inform the House that statistics show that there has been an increase in the percentage of C-section carried out in both public and private health institutions from 46.3% in 2015 to 61.4% in 2024. I am also informed that the age group 20 to 34 years have recourse to C-section and is following the same trend during the last 5 years. With regard to part A of the question, according to latest figures of the 2024, out of 8,052 total births in public hospitals, the ratio of normal delivery to C-section is almost 1:1, whereas in private health institutions for 2024, out of 4,103 total births, the ratio of normal delivery to C-section is 1:2. Madam Speaker, with regard to part B of the question, in line with World Health Organization's recommendations, my ministry is implementing several measures to reduce the need to carry out C-section deliveries, amongst others. 1. Preconception care counseling is conducted regularly by community health care officers in the community. 2. Women are encouraged to plan and space their pregnancies through the use of contraceptives provided free of charge in family planning clinics. 3. Antenatal care is provided as early as possible in primary health centers and include one-to-one and group counseling, echographies and vitamins and iron supplementation. 4. High-risk cases and teenage pregnancies are referred to regional hospitals for specialized follow-up by obstetricians. 5. Labor wards are fully equipped to ensure cardiotocographic monitoring of labor and fetal heart rate to prevent complications during labor. 6. Decision to conduct a cesarean section are based on clear indication. 7. Other measures include capacity building of health professionals involved in maternal and child health based on updated national obstetrics protocols. Madam Speaker, through these measures, the Ministry remains committed to ensuring that every cesarean section is performed for the right reason, at the right time and in the right setting, thereby aligning national practices with international best standards. Cesarean section is absolutely critical to save lives in situations such as malformations of fetus, hypertension in pregnancy, maternal complication, gestational diabetes mellitus, fetal distress, or due to baby's malpresentations. According to new research from World Health Organization, births by cesarean section continue to rise globally, now accounting for more than 1 in 5, that is 21% of all childbirths. This number is set to continue increasing over the coming decade, with nearly a third of 29% of all births likely to take place by cesarean section by 2030. Mauritius is also following the same international trend regarding the increase in cesarean section deliveries. There are so many other reasons accounting for the increased number of cesarean section deliveries, to name a few. Number 1, increasing maternal age and numbers of multiple births. Number 2, higher rates of obesity among women. Number 3, a lot of previous cesarean pregnant ladies require to be sectioned. And number 4, increased number of sexually transmitted diseases. My ministry is also proposing to take the following additional measures to address the issue of increasing cesarean rate. Number 1, clinical audit and monitoring to assess whether indications are being undertaken in public hospitals to ensure medical justification and adherence to WHO guidelines. Number 2, updating and standardizing national protocols to emphasize evidence-based management of labor and delivery, including use of WHO Robson classification system to monitor and compare CS rates between facilities. Number 3, organization of continuous medical education and refresher courses for obstetricians, midwives and labor ward staff to strengthen decision-making during labor management and promote safe normal deliveries where feasible. Number 4, strengthen antenatal counseling on normal delivery. Number 5, public education campaign to highlight that vaginal delivery remains the safest options where no medical contradictions exist.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether any study has been carried out how Mauritius is affected as compared to other countries in the SADC region? Thank you.
Well, Madam Speaker, I don't have any information regarding such type of studies which have been carried out. But of course, as I have already mentioned, this is a international trend, and I do hope that with the measures that we have taken, we can I don't say an end, but rather a break to this system, which is in fact not normal.
Thank you, Madam. My second question is, why is that the cost of CS by public institutions is less than those performed by private institutions? Has this also been looked into, Honourable Minister?
Sorry, I missed the last part. Are you saying there are more in public hospitals?
No.
No, it's the contrary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is still a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you compare with public hospitals and private hospitals, you find in public hospitals it's less. The number of cesareans compared is less than in private hospital. Probably prosperous people go in the private hospitals.
So it's a question of money.
Maybe that they want to get the best way out. That may be one of the reasons.
Don't say that, Minister. The best way out. Don't say that.
I mean to say now, well, I'm not an expert in that field, but I get the feeling, that they want really the easiest way instead of going under the pains and all.
La facilité, on appelle ça la facilité. Okay, let her finish.
My last, thank you,
Of
Madam.
course.
Can the Honourable Minister provide us some statistics? Thank you.
Oh, of course, I'm going to provide this. That is the detailed statistics I'm going to provide.
Yeah, please lay it on the table.
I'll lay on the
It's
table.
such an important issue.
Nothing.
And you know that it's dear to my heart. Yes,
Thank-
Dr. Praya.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honourable Minister. While providing the statistics, I think it would be more informative to us if we could have been provided the statistics of elective normal deliveries and elective cesarean sections as compared to public and private, and separately comparison of emergency vaginal deliveries and C-sections in public and private. Then we might be able to really compare how much insurance companies come into the game here.
I know your interest in this subject. I'm going to provide you a bulky
Yes.
document on this. All the details will be provided. I'll take some time.
Thank you so much, Minister.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. May I ask the Honourable Minister whether he has any information or statistics about caesarean section prevalence from Rodrigues, or what is the actual situation there, if any?
Sûrement, c'est plus naturel là-bas.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I do have. I expected a question from Rodrigue. For the period of 2020 to 2025, the last 5 years, out of 4,929 births in Rodrigue, 1,938 babies were delivered by CS, which corresponds to most 39.3% of the overall births. Statistics indicate that over the past 5 years, there is an increase in the number of CS performed. In 2020, it was 38.1. Now it is 43.3% 2025. So even Rodrigue needs some special attention.
En français, on dit la naissance par le bas. Non, c'est vrai. On a appris ça, là, récemment. Okay. It seems that I have more questions that have been withdrawn. B1165 and 1168. It's normal because now time is over. Thank you very much, Minister, and everybody. We break for tea. Yes? You want to say a
Yes,
word?
Madam Speaker, no, I move now.
Yes.
I move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Thank you.
Yes, the question is that all the business of today's paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Yes, those against say no. Okay, so now we break. Oh, I thought we were breaking for tea. No? No. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just that, I'm sorry. It's just that time is over for questions. Honourable Attorney General, I suppose that's what
I'm afraid it's not my turn yet.
It's not yet your turn. Je suis inondée de documents. J'ai plus accès à l'essentiel.
Statements by ministers none. Public bills, first reading.
Now, public bill.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I move that the road traffic amendment bill be moved be read the first time. Thank you.
Yes. Seconded. It is seconded. Yes, Minister. Okay, now second reading.
Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that I do not propose to proceed with the Law Practitioners Disciplinary Proceedings Bill number 24 of 2025, and that notice has already been given to the Clerk of the National Assembly as far back as the 18th of November. I therefore move that the Law Practitioners Disciplinary Proceedings Bill number 29 of 2025 be read a second time.
Yes, and who's? Okay, you carry on, carry on.
Madam Speaker, the Law Practitioners Disciplinary Proceedings Bill is a reform that goes to the heart of the confidence that our citizens place in the legal profession and, by extension, in the administration of justice itself. Legal practice is not merely a technical craft. It is surely not a business. It is a vocation rooted in trust. The bill recognizes that truth. It seeks to protect the overwhelming majority of practitioners who serve honorably whilst dealing firmly and transparently with the minority whose conduct undermines that trust. Let me state at the outset what this bill does not do. You see, Madam Speaker, I stand here as a member of that profession for 40 years, a profession that I love and made me who I am, a profession that I share with colleagues whose work and ethics I admire. I know that most practitioners work with dedication, often unseen and unacknowledged. But we also know, because the public and the press regularly remind us of this, that this confidence has been weakened by a perception that misconduct is not always dealt with swiftly, visibly, or consistently. I regularly receive visitors at my office. They are from all over the country, from all ages. Some come with their documents, neatly compiled over the years, some with just a handwritten note, their desperation poured on paper. They want help. They think the Minister of Justice, as they often mistake the Attorney General to be, is the one they should turn to because they feel the system has failed them. They don't understand why their plot of land is still disputed after many years, or why the courts have not struck down this deed of sale which they say is fabricated. When it is explained to them what the Attorney General's office does and why it is better that they turn to their legal advisors for such matters, it is then that the story has come out. Madam Speaker, again we are talking about a handful of rotten apples, but the acts and omissions of these legal practitioners besmirch the whole profession. Often enough, fortunately, complaints will be unfounded, but even then, the perception of the public is that their accusations have not been dealt with efficiently or transparently. A few cases, a few repeated complaints, a few unresolved matters, sometimes that is all it takes to erode the standing of an entire profession. Madam Speaker, this bill is therefore not an act of suspicion. It is indeed an act of faith in the profession and an act of responsibility towards the public. It is an expression of confidence that the reputation of law practitioners is worth protecting, that the best way to defend the honor of a profession is to ensure that its disciplinary framework is fair, independent, transparent, and effective. Before explaining the architecture of the bill, it is important to reflect on why this necessary reform has taken this particular shape. For more than a century now, the system of self-regulation has prevailed. It has served us in some respects, but it has also shown clear limits. The more so in recent years, with the rapid increase in the number of law practitioners. We are now almost 1,600 barristers on the roll of barristers in Mauritius. We are not talking of attorneys and notaries. The Bar Council, the Chamber of Notaries, and the Law Society have all exercised disciplinary oversight over their members, and they have done so conscientiously. However, the system as a whole has not delivered the consistency or transparency that a citizen can expect in this 21st century. Complaints accumulate, some remain unresolved for years, some are closed or remain in limbo in ways that arouse suspicion. From the outside, observers conclude, rightly or wrongly, that lawyers cover for lawyers. This perception, fair or unfair, weakens the legitimacy of the profession and of the justice system itself. The government program has made accessibility and efficiency of justice clear priorities, and credible disciplinary proceedings are part of that mission. Madam Speaker, we did not embark on this reform lightly. Even though the previous draft bill had received the approval of Cabinet, I decided to go back to the drawing board of having listened and heard the qualms of law practitioners. We held lengthy consultations with all stakeholders, the Bar Council, the Law Society, the Chamber of Notaries, senior practitioners, young practitioners, and members of the judiciary. And this, it must be said, built on past feedback of previous draft versions of this bill, elaborated under the previous government. They did seek to tackle the subject, but when met with serious objections, they lacked the ability to self-examine, compromise, and improve. Since there was no political will, there was no change. Today we have a government with a clear political will and which will bring this much needed change. As I said, our consultations were substantive, intense. Many provisions of the bill have been modified to reflect the concerns and suggestions of the professions. But on one point, the insistence of maintaining self-regulation, we could not compromise. Independence is essential. A disciplinary system must not only be fair, it must be seen to be fair. Madam Speaker, allowing the profession's exclusive disciplinary authority no longer meets that standard. Still, I wish to emphasize that the professional bodies retain a key voice in the new Commission. They nominate and are part of the decision-making process of appointment of members. They contribute expertise and they participate in all divisions. Their role is significant, though no longer exclusive. My attention was recently drawn to the fact that some law practitioners would have been perceived to have meddled in unsavory matters and could well become members of the Commission because the seemingly sole criteria is the fact that he or she has spent 15 years in the profession. My short answer is this. Although the possibility, however remote, does exist, we must, however, foster the belief that all three heads of the three professions and the Attorney General of the day would surely not fail in their duty to ensure that those appointed are beyond reproach, and this without a shadow of a doubt. I am those who firmly believe that our professions are teeming with good, honest practitioners who like to hold their head high. I trust that 4 of the most senior members of the profession will never stoop so low as to choose someone with an unenviable track record to sit on the Complaints Commission. That being said, allow me, Madam Speaker, to walk the House through the main mechanisms of the bill, beginning with the establishment on composition of this new body, the Complaints Commission. Now, Clause 4 of the bill establishes that commission as an independent statutory authority empowered to receive, investigate, and determine whether disciplinary proceedings should be initiated. It is expressly insulated from the directional control of any person or authority. Clause 5 proposes that it be composed of a chairman, 2 vice chairs with senior judicial or professional experience, as well as 9 members nominated respectively by the Bar Council, the Law Society Council, and the Chamber of Notaries. This ensures both independence and expertise. The creation of the appointment committee here is the precise result of the feedback we received from the professional bodies. There was a fear that an appointment process resting exclusively in the Attorney General could transform this body into a controlling device of the exercise of the executive over law practitioners. That had not been the intent of our first version, but the professional bodies pointed out that future abuses by less scrupulous people could not be ruled out. They were right, and we listened to them. The structure of divisions in the Clause 6 reflects the specificity of each branch of the profession. Complaints against barristers are heard with 2 barristers sitting with a chair or vice chair, similarly for attorneys and notaries. In doing so, the bill ensures that standards are judged by those who understand the professional context, whilst avoiding the shortcomings of self-regulation. It is a balanced solution which fits the bill. The procedure for opening complaints is set out clearly in Clause 8. Any person, including members of the public, judicial officers, the Attorney General, the professional bodies, may lodge the complaint. It must normally be filed within 6 months, though the Commission retains the discretion to entertain serious complaints, even if late. Importantly, the Commission may also initiate investigations proprio motu, that is, as you know, Madam Speaker, of their own initiative. Now, to avoid abuse, Clause 9 gives the Commission power to dismiss complaints that are trivial, frivolous, or vexatious. Where matters are minor or stem from misunderstandings, Clause 10 empowers the Commission to attempt conciliation. This allows resolution without stigma and avoids unnecessary escalation. When an investigation is warranted, Clause 11 sets out the process, written explanations, summoning of witnesses, compulsory production of documents, even recourse to the judge in chambers where confidentiality is invoked. Investigations must be completed within 90 days. This is an important guarantee of timeliness and fairness. A staple inclusion now in the processes that this government is shaping for the justice system of this country. In cases of minor misconduct where the practitioner has no prior record, Clause 12 allows the Commission to administer a caution, a proportionate measure that protects the public interest without imposing excessive sanctions. The Chief Justice, Attorney General, and the relevant professional bodies are then duly notified. When there is no evidence of misconduct, Clause 13 requires written notification to all parties with reasons, including the complainant, of course. This protects practitioners from the reputational harm of unsubstantiated complaints. If, however, the Commission finds a prima facie case, Clause 14 mandates that it refers the matter to the Supreme Court after obtaining the Solicitor General advice on the formulation of charges, and the Supreme Court then becomes the sole disciplinary authority. This, Madam Speaker, is a point worth emphasizing. Case law, such as that of Gimel, has firmly established that the disciplinary function of the Supreme Court over law practitioners are part of its inherent powers. That is, powers that, even when they are not expressly provided for, are necessary to the good functioning of its judicial mission. The principle relating to the retention by the colonial courts of their powers of discipline over barristers and the rationale behind it having been succinctly explained by Lord Denning in the Gambia, which was referred to with approval in the case of Gimel in Mauritius, and I quote, "By the common law of England, the judges have the right to determine who shall be admitted to practice as barristers and solicitors. And as incidental thereto, the judges have the right to suspend or prohibit from practice. In England, this power has for a long time been delegated, so far as barristers are concerned, to the Inns of Court, and for a much shorter time, so far as solicitors are concerned, to the Law Society. In the colonies, the judges have retained the power in their own hands, at any rate in those colonies where the profession is fused. Now, advocates and attorneys have always been admitted in the colonial courts by the judges, and the judges only. The power of suspending from practice must, we think, be incidental to that of admitting to practice, as is the case in England with regards to attorneys. In Mauritius, as we all know, barristers, attorneys and notaries are admitted to practice by the Supreme Court, and only the Supreme Court can therefore decide on eventually removing them. We have thus preserved this principle here. The Commission investigates, but it is the Supreme Court that decides. This disciplinary process before the Supreme Court is addressed in Part 3 of the Bill. So Clause 15 dictates that the court sits as a disciplinary tribunal composed of 2 judges, hearing the matter in open court except for justified exceptions. Clause 17, the court may dismiss the charge, reprimand the practitioner, suspending, striking him off the roll, or issue warnings for breaches relating to AML CFT obligations. And the court must determine the matters within 90 days, unless the delay is justified. And Clause 18 provides a right of appeal to the Court of Civil Appeal. Now, I have heard from certain quarters that this right of appeal to the Court of Civil Appeal is useless, since the matter is dealt with at first instance by the 2 judges. It is regrettable that such comments, devoid of any merit, I must say at the outset, have been aired without having properly consulted the Civil Appeal Act 2025, which specifically provides that the Court of Civil Appeal will consist of at least 2 judges, hence it can have more than 2 judges. And if I read section 11.2 of the Act, the Chief Justice may either proprio motu or an application in writing made to him by any party to an appeal, stating the reason for such application, direct that the case be heard by more than 2 judges, having regard to the magnitude of the interest at stake or the importance or intricacy of the questions of fact of law involved. Now, in these such disciplinary matters since 1993 up to today, in most cases, in all the cases that we have seen, there have been at least 3, and in certain circumstances 5 judges that have been designated to hear such disciplinary matters at the Supreme Court. So let my friends who had qualms rest assured that this was looked at properly. There are a few proposed amendments that have been circulated this today, which I propose to move forward at committee stage in clauses 5, 9 and 20. Madam Speaker, the purpose of this bill is not punitive, but it is corrective. It strengthens the reputation of the profession by ensuring that complaints are handled fairly, independently and transparently. It protects the innocent by enabling frivolous complaints to be dismissed quickly, and it protects the public by ensuring that serious complaints are addressed with rigor. The professions themselves, Madam Speaker, in all our consultations, acknowledged that reform was needed. They too want clarity and consistency. They want a system that inspires public confidence, and they want unfounded allegations to be cleared without unnecessary delay. This bill achieves that balance. This reform also forms part of the wider transformation of our justice system. We have modernized appeals, judicial review, legal aid, and we continue to work towards a justice system that is accessible, modern, and humane. Public confidence is essential to that work. Citizens who entrust their liberty, their property, the fate of their families to a legal practitioner must feel secure. They must know that the system will protect them if something goes wrong. And conversely, a system that will also protect practitioners who face unjustified accusations. Fairness to all is the guiding principle. Madam Speaker, the legal profession is the backbone of justice. It is essential that it remain strong, respected and trusted. This bill seeks to reinforce that trust. It is not a criticism of the many, but a safeguard against the few. It is an act of confidence in the profession and an affirmation of our duty to the public. I therefore, Madam Speaker, commend the bill to the House.
Yes, now it has to be seconded. Yes, Mr. Yutim, thank you. All right, so we're going to listen to Honorable Ramdas, and then we'll break.
Merci, merci Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, d'abord permettez-moi de remercier et féliciter l'honorable Attorney General pour avoir présenté devant cette auguste Assemblée ce projet de loi, le Law Practitioners Disciplinary Proceedings Bill, un projet de loi, Madame la Présidente, qui a pour objectif la création d'une entité centralisée. Une entité, en fait, centralisée et chargée de traiter les doléances et les griefs formulés contre les praticiens du droit dans l'exercice de leurs fonctions. Et pour bien comprendre cette démarche, Madame la Présidente, il convient ici pour moi de rappeler que les praticiens du droit se retrouvent aujourd'hui à la croisée des chemins. En fait, au cœur même des interactions d'une part entre le citoyen et la réalité sociale dans laquelle il évolue de l'autre. L'avocat, en fait, Madame la Présidente, l'avocat est le professionnel visé par l'article 10 de la Constitution de notre pays, lequel article, en fait, garantit le droit à une représentation légale. Le droit à une représentation légale dans un procès au pénal, dans une poursuite, un procès au pénal. Et en ce qui s'agit, Madame la Présidente, des revendications relevant du droit civil, l'avoué, lui, représente le justiciable en quête de justice et d'équité, tandis que le notaire, lui, officier public habilité à dresser des actes authentiques, confère aux citoyens de ce pays, Madame la Présidente, des droits et obligations dans leur vie sociale. Ces praticiens donc, ces praticiens du droit, constituent en fait des maillons essentiels de la mise en œuvre d'un aspect fondamental de la démocratie, de notre démocratie, celui de l'accès à la justice. Madame la Présidente, having said this, in fact, the nobility of the three branches of our legal profession, c'est-à-dire les avoués d'une part, les avocats et les notaires, in fact, the nobility of this profession stems from the crucial role which they are called upon to exercise in the administration of justice, d'une part, et deuxièmement, from the stringent ethical standards to which they are subjected under their respective code of ethics, c'est-à-dire the code of ethics for barristers, d'une part, the code of ethics for attorneys, et the code of ethics for notaries. However, we can only observe, Madam Speaker, regrettably so, that the existence of such rules do not, unfortunately, guarantee that all members of the legal profession will now toe the line and act in accordance with the principles that give to this profession its noble character. And given that any breach of the code of ethics by a legal practitioner is likely to have a direct and sometimes even a severe impact on the lay client's perspective, on the lay client's experience of justice, of the justice system, it's only then natural and indeed essential, Madam Speaker, that a stronger system of checks and balances be implemented once and for all. And whilst the Mauritius Bar Association, in fact, the MBA, the Law Society, the MLS, et la Chambre des notaires are already vested with investigative and disciplinary powers over their members as per the present law, the question now is whether the existing structures are still adapted to the realities of the profession and the realities of our society, Madam Speaker. Si nous prenons par exemple, Madame la Présidente, l'exemple de la Mauritius Bar Association. Le Bar Council, comme l'a dit l'Attorney General, le Bar Council est composé de 7 membres élus pour un mandat d'1 année. Et de ces 7 membres, 2 doivent être impérativement pourvus d'au moins 10 ans de pratique. Ce qui implique donc que les 5 membres restants peuvent avoir moins de 10 ans de pratique. Et nous le savons tous, Madame la Présidente, le barreau mauricien est de plus en plus jeune. Nous avons environ une centaine d'avocats qui prêtent serment chaque année. Et la proportion de nouveaux inscrits, de nouveaux avocats inscrits, en fait, augmente constamment. Et de ce fait, il ne serait pas surprenant et même peut-être un petit peu rafraîchissant d'un certain point de vue d'avoir un conseil, un bar council, majoritairement composé de jeunes avocats. Cependant, Madame la Présidente, bien qu'il soit une bonne chose que nous ayons de jeunes avocats sur le bar council, sur le conseil, il serait quand même légitime de s'interroger quant à leur niveau d'exposition, quant à leur niveau d'expérience et surtout quant à leur niveau de maturité pour traiter de ces cas potentiels de manquement déontologique. And it's been a tradition at the bar, Madam Speaker, to resort to senior members for guidance on matters relating to ethics and etiquette. And in such a situation where the membership of the bar is increasingly comprising of members of the younger generations, it is certainly time to consider shifting investigative and disciplinary powers to a stronger body, a consolidated body, whose composition would reflect d'abord the seriousness of the task et bien sûr the solemnity of the mission conferred upon it. That is to probe into allegations, into breach of code of ethics and misconduct, and to determine, Madam Speaker, the consequences thereof. En dernier lieu, Madame la Présidente, it cannot be ignored that with the exponential, as I said before, with the exponential increase in the number of law practitioners, the number of complaints registered by the Bar Council on the one hand and the Mauritius Law Society on the other hand are also on the rise. And these bodies, Madam Speaker, are comprised of members elected on a periodical basis. I understand that it's 1 year for the Bar Council, and if I'm not mistaken, it's 2 years for the Law Society. And these officers, these members who are elected, they are elected to hold office on not on a full-time, on a part-time. It's not a full-time basis. Hence, the volume of complaints and the limited mandate of each body necessarily implies that there are practical issues in the timely disposal of any grievance formulated by members of the public, giving rise to frustrations and the perception of injustice when no comprehensive action follows from a complaint, or at least not in a timely manner. Donc, so much to say, Madame Speaker, que l'initiative de l'honorable Attorney General, en fait, arrive donc à point nommé. And obviously, if we go to the bill, Madam Speaker, I do not propose to go through all the clauses of the bill since the Honourable Attorney General has already done so. But I'll only address l'Assemblée on a few clauses. If we look at clauses 4 and 5, as regards the Complaints Commission, Madam Speaker, le projet de loi propose la création, sous la clause 4, d'une Complaints Commission, une commission composée d'un président, de 2 vice-présidents et de 9 membres. Et le président et les vice-présidents devront être respectivement un juge à la retraite, un ancien magistrat ayant servi au moins 15 ans, un avocat ou un law officer comptant au moins 15 ans de pratique. Donc une telle composition, Madame la Présidente, garantit que les plaintes portées devant la commission seront examinées par des professionnels aguerris, capables de comprendre les aspects, tout comme la réalité de la pratique de la profession légale. Autre clause, Madame la Présidente, celle de la clause 15, clause 15 qui parle du délai de 80 jours, comme nous l'a si bien dit l'honorable Attorney General. En fait, la clause 15.4 prévoit un délai de 90 jours pour que la Cour suprême statue sur toute procédure disciplinaire portée devant elle. Cela constitue, de mon point de vue, Madame la Présidente, une avancée majeure. Une avancée majeure puisque aucun délai n'existe actuellement sous les lois présentes. Et ce qui a conduit, le fait qu'il n'y a aucun délai sous les lois existantes, a conduit à ce que plusieurs affaires restent sans suite, minant ainsi la confiance du public. Et là, Madame la Présidente, je parle ici sous la correction de mes collègues avocats ici présents, dont vous-même, Madame la Présidente, qui se souviendront de plusieurs cas dont je ne citerai pas les noms ici, des cas de professional misconduct qui sont malheureusement restés impunis et sans aucune suite. J'en ai été témoin moi-même d'un gros cas de misconduct il y a plus d'une dizaine d'années de cela. Je ne citerai pas le nom, mais l'Attorney General saura de quoi je parle puisqu'il en a été témoin lui aussi. Madame la Présidente, je faillirai à mon devoir avant de terminer si je ne parle pas, par contre, d'un petit souci que j'ai par rapport à une petite incohérence, à me dire, par rapport à ce projet de loi. When I go through the bill, Madam Speaker, I note that it does not specify, I observe that it does not specify the burden of proof which rests upon the Complaints Commission when it prosecutes a case before the Supreme Court. And in fact, when we look at the bill, clause 17(1)(b)(3), la clause 17(1)(b)(3), Madame la Présidente, we note that the outcome of such proceedings before the court, the outcome of such proceedings may be as severe as the erasure of the name of a law practitioner from the roll. This is indeed very extreme, Madam Speaker. It's indeed a very extreme measure, la radiation complète d'un avocat, d'un avoué ou d'un notaire. Je ne suis pas contre. Mais par contre, puisqu'il y va du livelihood, puisqu'il y va du livelihood du praticien, would it not be appropriate, Madam Speaker, to specify in the bill that the burden of proof should be beyond reasonable doubt? Beyond reasonable doubt, or at least a higher burden than that of the civil burden of proof, which is on the balance of probabilities. I'm saying this, Madam Speaker, of course, since the erasure of a professional, of a barrister, a notary, or an attorney from the roll, in fact, goes to the very ability of that law practitioner to earn a livelihood, and this should not, therefore, be taken lightly. Madame la Présidente, en guise de conclusion, in fact, it is true to say that this bill addresses many of the shortcomings in the existing structures. In fact, it enhances the process in a bid to hold accountable those law practitioners which disregard completely the letter and the spirit of the Code of Ethics. Et ce projet de loi, Madame la Présidente, aura pour vocation de rendre à la profession légale ses lettres de noblesse, puisque trop longtemps, Madame la Présidente, les valeurs de cette profession ont été effritées par les agissements de certains, des agissements impunis, des agissements sans qu'aucune sanction ne soit prise contre ces brebis galeuses de la profession qui ternissent malheureusement la réputation de tous les avocats. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Merci. Sur ce, nous allons prendre un peu de thé.